Good decision making is an extremely valuable skill because whenever you make decisions, that ripples forward into the future. And the good news is there are specific tools you can use. There are specific ways in which you can make your decision making better. I'm going to show you one of the easiest to use tools for making better decisions in this video, as well as how to deal with some obstacles you might encounter once you start using this tool. Hello, I'm Shane Malach from activegrowth.com, and let's jump right in. I'm going to show you this tool called a decision matrix or priority matrix, and I'll explain as we go. So what I have here is a Google drawing, and you can use something like this or pen and paper or whatever. What you need is you need two axes. You're going to have two axes like this, and we're going to use these to basically assign our ideas or possible decisions. So I'm going to give you an example from my own background. So as you may know, I run a software company, and there one of the questions or one of the decision points that comes up is like, what product should we create or what feature should we create? So here is how I would label these two axes for such a decision. I'm going to add some text here, and I'm going to call this one potential, or maybe potential payoff. So that's one thing we want to take into account, is how likely is this going to succeed, or how much money might this be able to make if we actually create this feature or product. And then the other axis would be, I'm going to call this maybe cost and complexity. And so right away, this is where I can start arranging my ideas. So let me throw a shape in here like this. And one of these shapes here is simply going to represent one product idea or one feature idea. So let's say a product, so I'm just going to go idea 1, and then we can copy paste this idea 2, copy paste this idea 3. So I'm going to show you some specific examples in a moment, but right away here you can basically start seeing how this works. I have an idea and I can ask myself, okay, if we actually do this, is that likely going to be a high payoff or a low payoff? So maybe it's fairly high payoff. And then, okay, is it complicated, complex? Will it take a lot of time to do this? If yes, I move it up. If no, I move it down, right? Idea number 2, maybe I'm like, okay, this is pretty easy to do, but also no one's going to buy it. So it goes down here, right? So this is how we work with this. Now, right away, here's my first tip for making even better use of this, is that I usually make it so that the positive outcome is in the top right. So in this case, I would label the bottom of this axis, I would, complex and pricey goes here, and a quick and easy goes here. And that's simply because it's more intuitive. It's kind of intuitively makes sense, at least I guess for people who, write from left to right. Kind of makes sense that the good ideas are in the top right and the bad ideas are in the bottom left. So I'm basically labeling my axes to make that happen. Just makes it more intuitive. So in this case, idea number 1 is if it's quick and easy and high payoff, it goes up here. And if it's complicated and pricey and it has a low potential payoff, it goes over here. So we can also kind of think of this in terms of, emotion, right? Bad bottom, good top, or good top right. So this, you can use a tool like this, a bit more on tools later. You can also do this with pen and paper. You can also do this on a whiteboard or something. But what's really useful is if you can move your stuff around. So if you're doing it on a whiteboard, it's better to use sticky notes, because then you can easily rearrange them and move them around. And because it's rarely going to be the case that you place an idea and it's going to stay there. As new ideas come up, you go, oh, you know what? This idea is actually easier than this one. Let me bump this one down a bit. That's quite common that something like that happens. So you want to have the ability to move these things around. So now let me show you this with some more specific, let me show you actually a real example of how I've used this. So here is a decision matrix that I actually created and shared with my team as well. That's why I made it look extra nice here by adding some backgrounds. And let me just move myself out of the way here, and let's just rearrange these slightly so you can see all of them. This would be for the Thrive Themes business, right? The software business. What kinds of products and features can we make, and what does that look like? So here we have exactly that: low potential to high potential, and costly and complex at the bottom, and quick and easy at the top. And so here you can see that there are certain things, and I've also designated these zones, right? So up here, anything that's quick and easy and a high potential payoff is easy money. I call this the easy money zone, right? If we make new templates, for example, it's relatively easy. There's not a lot of development in that. Also courses, if there's in-demand courses, relatively easy to make with a relatively small team, high payoff. Then down here, costly and complex and high potential, I call this the long-term zone, because if something has really high potential, then it doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it just because it's costly and complex, but it's just something where you want to be doing that on a long term. You know that it's going to take a long time and it's going to be a high cost to do that. And there are things like, Thrive Theme Builder, membership plugin, which a lot of people have asked us to make, which we're probably not going to make because it's, too far over here, and things like that. And then obviously low potential and costly stuff, that is, bad idea zone, something like a chatbot feature, trying to build a chatbot feature in WordPress, pretty complex. And chatbots were a fad for a brief moment there, but basically low potential, very complex, bad idea. And then the quick and easy but low potential part, I named this the fan service zone, because if there are people, if there are members who want something like this, even if the potential isn't that great, we can still say, well, let's do this just as kind of, to serve the fans, to serve the members. That's still worth doing. And so this is how we can make decisions about what to pursue and in what order. Now let me go back here and show you another example and show you how to deal with a potential problem that can come up. So let's say you're trying to make a business decision or a career decision, and you go, again, basically you go potential payoff. And here you go from, let's say you just go from hate to love, okay? So if you're thinking about a career choice or a business to start, then obviously one of the things that factors in is, well, how much money will I be able to make following this career path, or how much money will I be able to make with this business idea? But the other factor is, well, do I actually want to do this? Do I want to be spending my time building this business, learning what I need to learn, getting the education and so on to pursue this idea? And so you might have something like, okay, one option is, let's say, lawyer. Become a lawyer. And can you make money with that? Yeah, potential payoff is relatively high. For me personally, do I want this? No. This is very, very far on the hate side. I would not enjoy myself at all. And then another idea might be write a book. Okay, potential payoff, probably pretty low. It's pretty unlikely that you're going to make a lot of money off of a book. Do I love it? Yeah, I'd probably have a good time doing that. And so there I have, basically I can compare these two ideas on more than one just dimension, or I can compare them more than just, well, how do I feel about this or something. I have now two dimensions to say, okay, I can make more sense of how I feel about becoming a lawyer versus trying to become an author. And this could also go for different business ideas. If I think, okay, open a restaurant or something like that, again, how much money am I likely to make? How much would I want to spend several years of my life doing this? And ideally, I will find some glorious idea that is placed up here, right? That has great potential payoff, and that is something I'm really excited about, that I can see myself doing for many years. But here's the thing. Both of these dimensions are estimates, because I can't exactly know what the payoff is, especially on the entrepreneurial side. I can only estimate. And even with a career choice, I can of course look at some like reference figures for how much money does this profession versus that profession make, but there's no clear predictor of exactly what my career path will look like and how long it takes to reach a certain salary and so on. And with businesses, it's an even more outsized difference. There's, a business idea can become a multi-million-dollar business idea, or it can just fizzle out with no money made whatsoever. And it's difficult to predict, but you can estimate the potential. And you can estimate the potential by looking at things like, who is in the target market, how much money do these people generally spend, how competitive is the space, and so on and so forth. And even the love or hate thing is actually an estimation, because it's very hard for me to estimate how will I feel about a certain choice several years down the line. And when it comes to career and business decisions, that's what we're really looking at. But the important point is that even if you make estimations, if you use a specific system to make those estimations and you lay out your options like this, the chances that you'll make a good decision are far greater than, well, if you don't use a system or if you don't estimate. So a system like this is really worth using, even if you don't have all the answers. It can really give you great clarity when you lay everything out like this. Now, one note about tools. What I used here to show you me messing around with a decision matrix was the Google Drawing app, which is part of, Google Drive or Google Docs or Google OneDrive or whatever it's called this week. And that is one thing you can use. Personally, the reason I use this is because it tends to have like big shapes, big letters and so on. So it's good to show on video. For my personal use, I prefer using a tool called Draw.io, which is a diagramming tool that you can use for all kinds of things. That's also free to use, recommended. And like I said, you can also just use pen and paper and sticky notes, whatever, because it's really about the system and putting the ideas out there on 2 dimensions and shuffling them about to try and get to a decision. That's what matters much more than which tool you use. All right, I hope you found this useful. Let me know what decision that you are going to try making by using a decision matrix by leaving a comment below. And if you have any other questions or comments, go ahead and let me know below.